Should we start by talking about what is our top story this morning? Lots of question marks about who would be the best Conservative leader to try and stop you guys getting the keys to number 10, which seems to be inevitable at the moment. Do you have a preference? Who's going to be who are you going to be licking your lips over the most?
Well, frankly, I'm sick to the whole death of it, really. Who cares, quite honestly? We've just got another day of the sort of Westminster soap opera of Conservative politicians taking lumps out of each other, seemingly more interested in their own careers than they are interested in changing the lives of of your viewers and my constituents and those that we represent. I feel a bit like Brenda, who famously said, "Oh no, not another one." Can we have a government that gets on with the job it's there to do, which is to bring about change, deal with the problems that this country's facing, help people with the cost of living and paying bills, help people get an appointment at the GP or a hip replacement operation as they need it, and help deal with things like crime on our streets and knife crime, as Labour's talking about today? I think that's what people are more interested in, and frankly, this ongoing soap opera and circle of infighting just really needs to come to an end. And if a general election is the best way to do that, then bring it on.
Now, one of those things you touched upon there, knife crime. Yesterday, various interviews concerning those Nottingham knife crime murders, and the father and the brother, particularly the brother of Grace O'Malley Kumar, literally brought tears to my eyes, talking about how his life was over, his life was ruined because of the loss of his sister. What did you think about that verdict handed out, manslaughter?
Well, it didn't feel like the right verdict to me, and I think, as you say, I mean, these we all feel like they're but for the grace go I, because I've got teenagers, we've all got young people, brothers, sisters, relatives who we would worry about, and who can suddenly find themselves involved in an incident that then becomes a serious fatality, because we do have an epidemic of knife crime in this country, and people walking around, far too many people walking around in possession of knives. And that's why Keir Starmer and our shadow Home Secretary Yvette Cooper are setting out today a really comprehensive plan to tackle this issue, not just in terms of the buying and selling of knives and the outlawing of knives, but dealing with prevention, getting back into youth services and youth provision, and educating our young people about the dangers and trying to prevent them getting involved in this activity in the first place.
One of the big factors deemed to be prevention is stop and search. And traditionally, Labour have not been a fan of stop and search. How are you going to tackle that?
Well, look, it's not that we're not a fan of stop and search. I think that's a wrong characterisation. Stop and search is an important tool that the police need to have in order to be able to, as it says on the tin, stop and search people where they suspect they are carrying a knife or they're involved in some criminal activity. I think what we've seen over the years, and I think this has got better recently, but what we've seen over the years is an unfair operational of that, really. And so we've seen some communities unfairly targeted with stop and search, and that's well evidenced. But stop and search itself is an important tool for the police, but this is only one very small aspect, really, of tackling knife crime. We do have to stop the buying and selling of knives, and the government have brought in some laws over recent years to do that, but there are far too many loopholes in those laws, and we're not dealing with the online sales of illegal knife crime in a way that we should, a comprehensive way that we should. And we have seen a real stripping away of youth services and activities for young people to engage in, which we think will do more to help prevent young people getting involved in the first place.
Yeah, although if we look at this particular case in Nottingham, this wasn't about gang crime or young people getting wrapped up in, a lack of sort of social youth groups or whatever else it might be. It was a lack of mental health provision, and there were multiple opportunities that were missed, a litany of them, because he wasn't being picked up. So what does Labour suggest when it comes to strengthening that? Because we know what a huge increase in the demand on mental health services we've seen, not least in the last decade. It's a really difficult area, especially when it comes to knives.
Well, absolutely, and you're right, and it was remiss of me to not mention that, because that is a key part of the strategy that Keir and Yvette are setting out today. That mental health support is vital in that as well for our young people, and we've got a fully costed plan with the getting rid of VAT on private schools to get more mental health support in our schools, more mental health support for our young people, because we see months and waiting times for referrals for young people, but also for adults as well. As you're absolutely right, mental health has been the sort of Cinderella really of our health service provision, and adults can wait years, not just weeks or months, but years for treatment and referral. And this is the best kind of prevention that we can get into our health service, which, as you say, then has a direct impact on our criminal justice system and crime and prevention of crime in this country as well. And that's why we do have plans across these areas, and they are setting out this very wide-ranging plan today.
Okay.
I'm just going to ask you about private schools, because I can't let you go without asking about this. It's a really big issue for our audience. They get in touch with us very strongly whenever you talk about school fees and this VAT scrapping there. I mean, there's a big campaign now growing, which we've been covering here on the channel. They're saying that this is class politics, and that's a different era. We don't live in that era anymore, and actually what you're going to do will really hurt the less well off. Those people are just about managing, those people who are making sacrifices on those things those aspirational things, holidays, whatever it might be, so that their kids can go to private school. You've got to listen to that, haven't you? You're really just bashing those who are trying their best for their kids.
Well, we're not bashing those. Look, I understand those aspirations of people who want the very best education for their children. I want the very best education, not just for my children, but for every child as well. And our state education system, which educates over 90% of young people in this country, needs more resources, and it needs things like these mental health hubs in schools. It needs more resources to tackle some of these issues that we are putting on our schools today. And look, we pay VAT. I mean, you were talking earlier about ordinary people's aspirations. We pay VAT if we're getting an extension on our home, if we're getting work done on our home, if we get a painter and decorator in. We're paying 20% VAT for that service. We pay VAT on most things that we pay for in life, and it's kind of an anomaly, really, that private school fees are not charged VAT. And we just think that's a really important thing to iron out in order that we can get this much needed resource into the schools that educate the vast majority of people in this country. And we have fantastic state education in this country, and I think most people send their schools to them, and we want to support them in doing that.
Lucy, got to leave it there. Thank you very much indeed.